Okay, so I found a piece of metal that told me it wanted to be a broach guide. And first thing we're going to do is face off this really crappy saw cut. Okay, that's good enough for what we're doing. Now, I guess I'll put a center in here because it's going to be hanging out of the chuck pretty far with not much gripping surface, so... There we go. So we want to turn this thing down to 709 so it fits in our bushing. Okay. Just get a tool in here. Select the suitable. This looks like it might work. Let's make sure I can clear everything I got to clear. Yep. Alright, here we go. Oop. Guessometers out till we get close. 970. So we got 200 at least come off of there. thing's pretty hot, so $7.89. All right, I took one more pass and then I let it cool down, and we got 22 thou to take out. So this is the finished pass. I slowed down the feed, and we're gonna take off. Just a little over 11.5. This should put us right on the money. Okay, that should be pretty close to fitting our little bushing. Let's just get a measurement. $707. That's perfect. It's 2 thou clearance, so okay, that's good. So what I'm going to do now is turn this thing around and cut some of this big diameter down, because I got to mill through it, and you know, I make my job tougher. It's easy to cut it off now. So here again, your 6-jaw chuck, you know, unless you're taking a huge cut here, you got a lot of clamping force with 6 jaws, so you don't have to put the shim stuff in there and that kind of stuff. Like in a 50 thou cut. So I get this set up in the mill between a couple V blocks, and just going to, this is a 3/16 end mill. We're using a 3/16 broach, and I'm just going to sweep back and forth until I get it centered, and then start cutting the groove. I got this running at 2,500 RPM. Okay, so now I have a 3/16 wide mark on the top that I can use to line up the edges of the end mill. And this will get you, you know, within a couple thou, which is fine for a broaching thing here. Alright, we're ready to rock here. Okay, so this, cutting down this shoulder really doesn't matter. It's when we hit the other diameter that we got to start measuring. But we're almost there. I'd say we got about 3 or 4 more passes before we actually get down to the main body. One other thing, because these end mills are so thin, you'll notice that I'm only cutting in one direction. And that's so that I keep the slot width, the same as the mill. If I was to cut back and forth, the forces on the mill would be when I was cutting, the climb cut would pull it this way. Can you see that? Yeah, the climb cut would pull it this way, and then on the back stroke it would pull it this way. So, you'd end up with a slot that was wider than 3/16. Now, if this was super critical, I'd use a smaller end mill, and I'd, go back and forth, do my thing, and then at the very end I'd clean up the sides to make it the exact width. But we're being kind of lazy here, so I got a 3/16 end mill for a 3/16 broach. And so what I'm doing is, when I cut, the tool's gonna flex this way a little bit, but I'm not gonna make it double by cutting backwards the other way. So it's like on the back stroke it's like this, on the forward stroke when it's cutting it's bent a little. So, it's a couple of thou wider than, it's going to end up a couple of thou wider. Okay, so we are down to the depth of the main body of this thing. And this broach at the very top, you want it sticking out 50 thou. The way I got that was I took one of the regular standard bushings that came with the set. I put the broach in at the very top, and I measured how high this tallest tooth was, and it's 50 thou proud of the surface of this bushing. So that's how I'm calculating how deep I go, because what I'm going to do now is measure how tall this broach is. Okay, the mic says 427. So we want to go down a depth of 377 from where we are now. So I'm going to zero out my z-axis. And we're going to write write that down so we don't forget it. Okay. I just had a terrible thought. I'm not sure this end mill's long enough. Alright, I'm at 165 right now. Let's go down to 377. That's all, folks. Alright, I'm going to have to find another end mill. Something longer. I don't have too much in 3/16. I do have a couple of 4 fluters, but I prefer the 2 fluters for cutting slots like this. Let me dig through the stash. Okay, so I did find a new end mill. It is a 4 flute, but it's razor sharp. You know, we'll just have to see how it goes. But I figured I'd show you how I deal with this. Okay, so now I'm going to lose my reference to everything. What I know right now is that I just made a pass at 165 thousandths. So what I'm going to do is pull out this end mill. going to go down and touch where I just was. Okay, 0 to Z, and now I'm going to take my original dimension of 377 and subtract out the 165 I was at. That gives me 212, so that's my new target depth. Alright, so this one's going to be even more flimsy, but we'll press on. Well, it was the last pass, so we'll see how we did. Alright, it ought to work. So let's clean up all the burrs and see what happens. Hang on. Okay, got this done. There's a bushing inside of our collar, and brooch is in there. So we're ready to start pressing. Stand by. Oh yeah, and by the way, it's a good fit. So that's how you make a mongrel bushing for broaching stuff. See you at the press. Alright, ready to broach. You always want to let it off after it starts just to make sure everything's lined up good. So you don't want to break the brooch. Alright, that's the first pass through. Alright, here we go with pass 2. Got a 50,000 shim in there. Oh! Okay, we got her broached out. So our collar is done now. And if you look here, now we don't need tools to change these gears. Let's put this on, put that on. That's SAE threading. Take this off. Come on, Joe. Put this on here. Put this in here. And that goes on there. And it lines up with that gear. So that's metric threading. Cool. Alright, I think that's a success. Thanks for watching. Since we're in the gears here, I guess I'll show you what I use on my my change gears. This stuff is like excellent for gears because it just coats everything and it just stays there. Just makes everything run so nice, and I hardly ever have to put any on there. It does kind of get on everything, but as long as you are playing around in here every day, it's great stuff for change gears. So there you go.